There has been a major protest in Burkina Faso, and the main reason for the protest is simple. People are protesting in solidarity with what President Traoré is doing. So if it's your first time here, kindly like this video. So in a few, we are going to look at the protest and what transpired during the protest in relation to the support of President Traoré. So if you're joining here for the first time, like the video, share it with your friend. So I am here in Africa, here in the village. You can just have a look at how the village looks like. Just have a look at that. Just have a look at that. You can see we have a river here, and you see when you go to the other end, people normally fish. The kids here in the village, they normally fish. And on the other hand, on the other end, we have the corn plantation. So I know in the western countries, this corn plantation is basically used to feed animals. But here in Africa, the corn plantation basically is used to feed people. So you can have a look at how green Africa is. Sometimes I wonder, because how Africa is portrayed outside the medias in Africa, Africa is portrayed as a very poor continent, a desert. So guys, can you see this? Does this even look like a desert? Super amazing, right? Now, let's watch this video in relation to what is happening in Burkina Faso so that when we come back, we can analyze the video further. And before we go, you can just have a look at this point here. Actually, there's some erosion that is taking place here. But wait, let's watch the video from Burkina Faso, then we can analyze it further.
National Road number 5A at the entrance to the city of Po is packed with people. On the morning of this Saturday, May 16th, this human tide heads toward Nemaro Square, chanting slogans in support of the progressive popular revolution. Children, young people, the elderly, men and women are here to reaffirm their support for the president of Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. These demonstrators keep chanting IB, referring to the head of state who, according to them, symbolizes the hope of an entire people, regardless of religion, ethnicity, or profession. These people as one say yes to the RPP and to national sovereignty.
Now, Ori does not forget. We do not forget the sacrifices made for the security of our nation. We do not forget the efforts undertaken to restore confidence to our people. We do not forget the actions taken to put Burkina Faso back at the center of its own destiny. Yes, the road remains difficult. Yes, there are still many challenges, but the people who are aware know that no revolution worthy of the name is built on ease. Every generation has its own struggle, and our struggle and our generation has chosen the fight for freedom, for true independence, and for the total sovereignty of Burkina Faso.
After marching for about a kilometer, it was time for the rally. The national anthem was immediately sung in unison in the Kasanha national language. Then came the speeches. To be a revolutionary is to be a patriot, reminds Minister Jacques Sosten Dingara, who also calls on the population for a change in mindset.
Supporting the revolution is not just about slogans. Supporting the revolution is a state of mind.
Yes, if there are two countries in Africa that I totally admire, are Rwanda and Burkina Faso. Why? Because their system is based on accountability. I've just watched the Minister of Finance in Burkina Faso briefing the entire population, the citizens of Burkina Faso, on how they've performed in terms of collection of revenue, the first quarter. So they normally brief the population during the year, maybe four times a year. Then by the end of the year, they give the general briefing on how the year was, on how they collected the revenue, on how the revenue was spent. That is accountability. Go to Rwanda. I normally love what President Kagame is doing. So you can be appointed as a minister, okay? Maybe in charge of health, okay? Then President Kagame will ask you, tell us, before you assume office, tell us what you're going to do, okay? Then you as the minister, you brief the congregation, tell them, you as the Minister of Health, what are you going to do? And you also have to state that what you're going to do will be done in a specific period of time. Then by the end of the specific period of time, Kagame will call you back and ask you, you told us that you're going to do this. What is the progress so far? That is now what we call accountability. I also don't know any country in Africa whereby the citizens of those countries, they normally demonstrate in case there's an issue pertaining the security of a president. Only in Burkina Faso. You can even bear me witness, when the year started, there was an attempted coup in Burkina Faso. Okay? So imagine the citizens of Burkina Faso, they stood by the president. Actually, they marched all the way to the presidential palace, okay, just to make sure that they are in solidarity with the president. Why are they doing so? Because they can see what Traoré is doing. He's transforming Burkina Faso. And in 2022, when Traoré assumed power, Traoré said it clearly that Burkina Faso is living way back. Actually, he said that it was living in the 18th century, if I'm not wrong, in the 80s, okay? In the 80s. So it was incumbent of him to make sure that Burkina Faso was at least living maybe in the 2000s, or maybe living as to the standards of the normal economy of the day, okay? That is what President Traoré is doing. How is he doing that? You see, most of the development in Traoré's government, it is done by the Burkinabes themselves. So they normally have this initiative by the name Fasomebo, where all Africans of goodwill, both in Africa and in the diaspora, they can contribute to the kitty, the national kitty, so that the money that it is contributed can be used to make sure that development is seen within Burkina Faso. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't borrow money. They do. But most of the development, okay, internal development, they are done by funds that they are coming from contribution from people within Burkina Faso and outside Burkina Faso. Take a good example. The agricultural sector in Burkina Faso, amazing. Road network in Burkina Faso, amazing. Security in Burkina Faso, amazing. Okay? Education, amazing. In fact, when it comes to education, Traoré is taking scientists from Burkina Faso to go in Russia, because the government of Russia is collaborating with the government of Burkina Faso to go in Russia, study in Russia, then they can come back and contribute to the economy in Burkina Faso. That is what we as Africans want. Now, you can imagine also that even though Traoré has done all this, Traoré is not recognized as a democratically elected leader. He is not given the right of audience, or the right to audience in the African Union. He is never invited in the African Union. Why? Because they are saying that Traoré was not democratically elected. So Traoré, Chiani, if I'm not wrong, Assimi Goïta, they are not given right to audience in the African Union because they were not democratically elected. That was back then. Even now they are still not given right to audience. But I think African Union is trying to rethink their decision, because the president of African Union visited Traoré. That is the president of Burundi, who is the current president of African Union, visited Traoré. And he is one of the people who congratulated Traoré because of the development that are happening within the Burkina Faso's jurisdiction. So Africa must unite. We have to call up all Africans to stand with leaders who love their countries, with leaders who want Africa to be catapulted to another orbit level as far as development is concerned. One such leader is President Traoré. That is why we had protests in Burkina Faso just to support what Traoré is doing. Even though he has been accused so many times, okay? When he abolished the multi-party system, when he abolished some of the channels, television channels from France to report within the Burkina Faso. He was condemned, okay? But we as Africans, we are proud of him. So that's why we are talking about him, and we expect that more and more Africans will give flowers to Burkina Faso. And I can't even imagine how Burkina Faso will be in 10 years from now. Burkina Faso will be on another level. So let's wait and see and hope that President Traoré is going to be safe. Thank you for watching. If it's your first time here, like this video. See you next time.